The coronavirus is a genetically engineered bioweapon made by the Chinese, or perhaps the Americans. It originated in a lab in Wuhan, or an American military lab. It's a big hoax. It's also caused by 5G masts that are broadcasting electromagnetic waves. It could be part of a scheme devised by Bill Gates to introduce mass global vaccination to control the world. Dr Fauci is in on it, so are the World Health Organization, the mainstream media and doctors. Is there any truth behind these rumours whatsoever? Let's find out on this episode of Doctor's Orders. Surely such ideas can't be widespread, but a report by King's College London, which is entitled COVID Conspiracy Theories and Confusion, showed that 22% of 16 to 24-year-olds think that 5G is linked to COVID-19. Between April and June, there were 264 cases of incidents involving 5G engineers. And also, there were 99 5G masts burnt down in the UK, despite the fact that the police have told us that this is criminal damage, you are disrupting important communication, and you will be fully prosecuted. And we also saw in May that despite the fact there were reassurances from the government, there were still multiple protests. And there were many different things that protesters were talking about, such as vaccines and human rights, but there seemed to be one unifying force, which was condemnation of 5G. A study by Oxford University called Coronavirus Conspiracies and Beliefs shows that 14% agree moderately or completely that coronavirus is a hoax. 38% think that it's man-made, 26% think that it's a deliberate attempt to reduce the size of the global population. Also, 39% think the government is misleading the public about the cause. 44% believe that the mainstream media is deliberately feeding misinformation about the virus and the lockdown. Now, this study was conducted by a professor in the Department of Psychiatry, and he specializes in paranoia and mistrust. And that could be one thing, but the fact is that belief then leads to action. And this is why some people may, as a result, not adhere to guidelines, and future uptake of vaccines and other interventions may well be affected by this. Why is it that these theories are so widespread? Well, firstly, conspiracy theories often flourish in times of paranoia, uncertainty and fear. And we certainly have got all three of those things during this COVID epidemic. There is also some disagreement exactly how the virus originated. And as a result, there might be some mistrust of the official accounts or a skepticism towards science. And of course, as human beings, we need to experience certainty. I think one of the biggest reasons is what you're watching me on right now. It's social media. And it's true that celebrities are super spreaders of these conspiracy theories. And of course, once they spread, they will spread like wildfire, whereas the counter-narrative won't be spread so easily. Examples being Callum Best, Lee Ryan from Blue, and Woody Harrelson. We also saw Amanda Holden share a link to a petition stopping 5G, and Amir Khan made a statement talking about 5G as well. And the rapper called Black the Ripper, he was also spreading lots of rumours about 5G, and yet later on he mysteriously died. So that was another thing. And then, of course, in the middle of April, we saw on ITV that Eamon Holmes, in the middle of this morning, said that there was no evidence to say that it was not true about 5G, and it was just suiting the state and media narrative about this. And then, of course, we saw Kerry Hilson, who shared Joshua Coleman's video. He's an alternative doctor, and that received 4.2 million views. He was talking about the first 5G city in China was actually in Wuhan, but that was totally not true. In fact, Beijing and Shanghai were the first cities in China to get it. And of course, the other thing to remember is one of the first cities in the world to get it was actually London. Yet we were one of the last people to get a mass outbreak. And add to that the fact that there's a mass widespread amount of COVID spreading in Brazil and India, where there is no 5G. Then of course we get the poster figures, people who are talking about these conspiracies. We've, I'm sure, all seen the video called Plandemic. And actually, if you watch one of my colleagues, Dr. Mike, who has done a great video counteracting the pandemic video, that will be great. And we've seen videos from Rashid Buttar, who is actually an osteopath, not even a physician, talking about his theories. And it's been well known that he has been in trouble in the past with authorities because of his claims. And then, of course, the absolute golden boy is David Icke. Now, some of you may remember him. He has got a new lease of life. He used to be a BBC sports presenter. In 1991, he surprised everyone when he appeared on Wogan and talked about the fact that he was the son of God. He was promoting theories about a predator race of Satanist paedophile reptiles that were taking human form and occupying positions of global power, and they were going to turn humanity into a slave race. He maintains that the moon is a planetoid space station from which minds are being controlled. So I'm sure you all agree he is a great source of medical knowledge that we can rely on. So there must be some concerns with 5G. After all, it is 10 times more powerful than 4G. And it is true that, of course, it is a form of radiation. But then light is also a form of radiation. And we can see on this picture that there are many different forms of radiation, and we can see where the phones come in, and after that we have microwaves. And that's probably the main thing we need to consider, because microwaves will mainly cause heat, and that is the main factor that we should be concerned about as a negative effect of these kind of signals. And we can also see quite clearly that the higher the frequency, then yes, the greater the potential damage. But also when the frequency goes up, they are less likely to go deeper within your tissues. So that means that the main adverse effects would be on your skin. Now, the other thing is that there might be concerns about the long-term effects, such as cancer and long-term immunity. And that is something we should certainly be looked into. But one thing that's very important is that the symptoms of coronavirus are very, very different to the symptoms of radiation poisoning. And of course, you may get coronavirus and become very sick, but then you'll become better. And of course, with radiation poisoning, you will get worse and worse gradually, bit by bit. So again, there is no link at all with those symptoms. So why take time to entertain these theories? The problem is that studies do show that if you believe against 5G, you're much more likely to leave the house, even if you've got coronavirus symptoms, and less likely to follow guidelines. And of course, the other thing is the same people who believe anti-5G will also not believe in immunization. And it's very clear-cut with many, many years of science that after clean water and sanitation, that immunization is the most effective healthcare strategy to protect the public. And we've seen how, as a result, we've almost eradicated things. In the UK, we don't get people with polio. So we can see that vaccines are not an opportunity for the government to microchip us and control the population. Now, conspiracy theorists do like to target people who are rich, powerful and influential. And Bill Gates, even if he's given 45 billion to health aid, is going to be a big target of that. Because of course, anti-vax campaigners jumped on the bandwagon when he said in 2011 that if we vaccinate people, we will reduce population growth. This spawned theories that he'd finally inadvertently admitted that he was using vaccines to kill or sterilize people in developing countries. But what Bill Gates was actually saying was that evidence shows that if you reduce child mortality through vaccination programs, then families are more likely to practice birth control. That's all he was saying. So is it possible that coronavirus was created in a lab? Well, Peter Daszak, who's president of the Euro Eco Health Alliance, has done 15 years of work in China trying to find out where the origins of COVID-19 have come from. And he has finally concluded that it has definitely originated in bats, which have then moved on to humans. And the hotspot of this was on the border of China, Myanmar, Laos and Vietnam. On top of that, we have seen there is a 7-year investigation by the Times that has identified the closest known relative to COVID-19 was actually in a Chinese mine where the outbreak originated in 2013, where down below you had lots of mice and bats and a perfect hotspot where this could have caused the problem. So many thanks for spending the time listening to me today. I hope you will understand why it was important for me to go through some of these conspiracy theories and why these things have happened and what can be the after effects as a result. Please don't forget to share my video, to subscribe to my channel, and please do put a comment down below if you find it useful. Many thanks. Dr. Farooq signing out.